All right, this is episode 154, part deuce. Um, kind of weird, but we're doing it this way.
154, 33 and a third.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be talking listener questions. I have with us Blake again, aka Wise Papa Smurf,
Hey, still here from a minute ago.
still here from a minute ago, and we got Manny, aka Manster.
What's up?
Yep,
Still present.
not 418. What 418
Four
was it?
415.
415. Not
Three.
415 this
It,
time. Just aka Manster.
Manster, you should change it to Manster 316.
Yeah, 360.
That's another option for you.
All right, so we got some listener questions we want to cover. The first one is from Paul S. A reminder, we get a lot of our listener questions from our Facebook group. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. The group is where we join into discussions with you guys, so make sure you join that Facebook group. Links in the episode description. But this one is from our Facebook group from someone, Paul S. He asks, What goes into a good duo partner, and preferences on lanes which you want to duo with? What do you guys think?
So
That's a
I
good question. I think I'm
Mhm.
going to let
mainly
Manster 90210 take it, and then I'll answer after that.
90210. I like it. So I'm mostly have played almost all my ranked solo ranks with a duo partner. And it's usually been mainly one person. It has varied recently and to not as much success. So let's talk with roles. I think
Sure.
if you can get a jungler, that is the best. It doesn't matter where you go, but if you get a jungler, I think that is actually duo partners. If you are a jungler, mid used to tend to work really well. But again, I think at that point it can kind of go either way. If you prefer bot and you always say you have crappy supports, then try to get someone that plays support. And
Mhm.
that communication does help a lot. Someone that you don't want to go in, you want to go in. All that stuff does help a lot. Um, for the most part, my biggest concern when I do it with someone is kind of do they tilt and will that tilt me?
Oh, that's a good one.
If the answer is yes to either, just kindly decline the
It's like
invitation
I,
to
I
duo
only
with
play
them.
solo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, actually, that is something I've said to someone. It's I'm gonna solo for now and just never end up doing with them.
Mhm.
With
There's
confrontation.
somebody out there right now who's like, that son of a bitch! I
Yeah,
guarantee it. There's
it's
somebody who's like, he said
fantastic.
he was going to duo with me.
That's
And then
funny.
I've also had the issue when I was doing with someone, and for the most part, it was working out. All of a sudden, they start tilting off the face of the earth and being super toxic. And to me, it's just I don't like to surround myself with that, right?
Hmm.
And I just have to be like, listen, man, I'm not gonna play anymore. Sorry, and kind of I'd say play a normal game or two with them first, kind of see how they react to certain situations.
Sure.
If you lose and they don't tilt or they're very optimistic, I think that kind of it's what you're looking for. As for roles, again, it kind of matters more of what you're playing. So don't just be like, oh, what should I start maining because my duo partner that I'm looking for is gonna be jungler. If you play top, maybe get a jungler, maybe get a mid laner, someone making plays, right?
Hmm.
So I think you just need to complement it with your style of play and what you're playing.
Gotcha. What about you, Blake?
I well, first off, like ditto on a lot of the stuff he
Yeah,
said.
I agree with about everything he said.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much there that one would disagree with. Like, no, I think you should get somebody who tilts and rages. Possibly a white supremacist. Uh,
Just get a one trick AP Cho'Gath to
yeah, I don't think that that's worked out poorly for anyone ever. By the way,
especially
so
if it's self-proclaimed best Cho'Gath in the world, AP Cho'Gath in the world.
well, considering that there's only like two, that's not a high bar. But I will say like that may actually be true. what he said. But anyway, not to toot his damn horn too much, but anyway, no, the big kicker that I would say is like lane assignments. Like, don't bank too much on it. You know, uh, I as a support, and this is coming from a support main who's like traditional wisdom is take an ADC with you. You know, like the sword on Zelda, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like here, it's dangerous out there to go alone. Take an ADC
Take an
with you.
ADC.
But the reality of it is, every time that I've ever done that, I've had nothing but problems. And the reason is basically because you've got kind of an all eggs in one basket approach, and you put too much emphasis on like one section of the lane or one section of the map. And then like it seems like as a result of that emphasis, I get a team full of like paste eaters everywhere else. You know, and I like it's I mean like it's a problem. It's a problem because it's like okay, so our bot lane's ahead, but everybody else is like 0-400. Well, that's not good. You know, you're not going to win a game like that if those two are like super duper ahead or whatever. It doesn't really matter. So unless you roam, I guess, a shitload, then I suppose it could matter. But like I said, even then, I've never had much success with that because either you just have to take over the game or you have to do whatever. Though I have a hard time saying that that's wrong too, because I've rarely found an ADC that like has very similar instincts to me that I feel like, oh yeah, we can just mindlessly communicate, right? But
Yeah, I
like
think you also like form that with like just playing more with that person.
yeah, I mean that's
But,
true.
like a good amount. It's not like, oh, let's play 3 games, and it's like you play like end up playing like 50 games together and stuff. Like you end up getting into like the swing of things with like your ADC, you know, or vice versa.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the, I guess here's the catch. Like, I used to play a lot with Ba, and we didn't actually play a lot together when we used to play. Like, when we'd play like big games or whatever, we'd play together. But other than that, like, it was seldom that I actually laned with him. We probably only played 20 or 30 games together total in bot lane,
Right.
and even early on, we had a very natural synergy because we had the same instincts, right? And that made us a very powerful lane where I could take somebody who's mechanically equally as skilled or even like better, but doesn't have the same instincts as I have, and then the lane is defunct, right?
Right.
And it's purely a synergy standpoint that really matters. So like you could take somebody who's really good at bot and you could be really good at support, and it really doesn't matter because you two have dog shit synergy. So make sure that you see the game in the same way when you're duoing. Like for example, Sam and I totally incompatible in solo queue. Like we have never had success playing solo queue together because like in my mind, I want to drink out of a goblet of my enemy's blood. And in Sam's mind, he wants to have slightly more gold and have played the game safely and arrived at the end with a victory, like edging out small victories, right? And I'm like,
Right.
I'm not a small victory guy. I'm going to be doused in your blood guy. So
It's either your blood or my blood.
yes,
but I'm gonna be covered in it.
there's going to be blood on the ground is the point. Like the tall grass will not be clean by the end of laning phase is the whole deal. But like traditionally we haven't worked well together, but Sam works well on his own and I work well on my own, so it's clearly, you know, there's just a disconnect in play style. And
But
that's
then
fine.
playing that together is a huge issue.
Yeah,
Like, that's when you can have two really good players. Not that I'm calling us really good players, but two really good
No,
players.
go ahead and do it. It sounds good. Feels nice.
If they play together, it just nothing good comes of it. That's
Sure.
perfectly possible to happen.
So I mean, pick somebody who you have a natural synergy with, and like here's, for example, you brought up Exiles with his AP Cho or whatever. By the way, for the record, and I'm doing this for him because I got a phone call immediately upon the release of the last episode. And he's like, "Can you believe they fucking said AP Cho fucking sucks and not to build AP Cho? What the fuck?" So I want to address that real quick. First off, think about Cho as like reverse Nasus. Nasus builds tanky but grows damage. Cho grows tanky and builds damage. Because to build tanky on Cho, you're doubling down on something that you're already going to be good at. And it doesn't make sense to do it that way. It's like, you're building a redundancy where you're going to get 1,000,000 hit points at the end of the game as Nasus anyway. You might as well be fucking terrifying when it comes to doing damage. Also, Storm Raider Surge is fucking broken on Cho'Gath, particularly with the new slow punch. New slow spikes.
I was gonna say also like Storm Raiders is broken on like half
mid
lane champs. Like,
yeah,
but...
well, I mean that's true. Like it's also broken on Urgot, by the way. So because you know how he turns on his W and it like slows him. If you have Storm Raiders, it don't do that, and you can like lariat somebody and just run a ring around him and blow all your shotgun knees like stupid fast with Storm Raiders speed. So
I think it's like a 10-second cooldown.
Yeah, pro tip. Pro tip: Storm Raiders is broken. Anyway, so AP Cho is in fact really gross. You just got to be really good at hitting ruptures. It's gross, but it's also skill dependent on hitting a hard to hit skill shot. So
I will retract my statement from 2 weeks ago.
All right.
To say
also, you need to write a letter of apology to Exiles, and sign it. And I mean like a real one, like in the mail with a stamp and everything, and maybe on some nice stationery, if you want. You're in college, right? You're doing the whole college thing right now, right?
Yeah, I'm actually moving tomorrow. So
sweet. So I think it would be appropriate as a gen ed if you took like a calligraphy class, so you can really show them that you care. I think that would be really nice. He would appreciate
his request
that.
is I want it signed, sealed, and fucking kissed with lipstick.
Yeah, there you go. So
my retracting of the statement and putting in is unless you are good with Cho'Gath and hitting his skill shots, do not go AP Cho. Because then at that point, if you miss everything, it doesn't matter if you have damage.
Yeah. Okay, I will passively accept that. We'll go from there. But what were we talking about before this?
You wanted to know my opinion on the question. Thanks, Blake.
Yes.
So, on top of what everyone else has said, I think the biggest thing one of the big things in finding a good DuoQ partner is knowing each other's expectations and making sure they align with each other too. Because some people just like want to play duo and they want to like win, but they also want to have fun, or they want to like pick their own champions, or they want to flame people. Like, while you might be like, I really want to hit gold this season, so I'm gonna like one trick my way all the way up there, playing like something boring, like playing Janna, because like I know that's gonna get me to gold. While your friend, he's like, oh, I played Lee Sin last game, it was really fun, but we lost because I was a bad Lee Sin player, but I want to try it again. Or like, oh, you know what, I don't feel like playing jungle this time, I'm gonna just play top lane. Oh, you know what, I'm gonna play AD carry with you because I'm just not feeling it. Like, and they might not have the same goals as you. They might want to like have a lot of fun and try different champions out and be more of a fill role and get to gold or something. So make sure you guys have the same ideas and expectations, because that can actually cause like strife between each other too, which is never fun.
The other thing is like girls just want to have fun, so they just want to have fun. Anyway, so you got to make sure you align with that. No, what I was actually going to say, I remembered my point. Is like
sorry to interrupt you, Blake.
No,
my bad.
It's
I'm
all
really
right. I'll let it slide this time.
Bitch.
The point I was actually going to make is like, so as a bottom laner, you would think I would queue with ADCs. I don't really, but I queue with mid laners. And like traditionally, I do the best when queuing with mid laners as like a strategic attack. And the reason is because I roam as part of my play style all the fucking time. And if I know I can get my mid lane ahead, they tend to snowball themselves super hard in a solo lane if they get
Mm-hmm.
a kill or two ahead. And then the game, I have an extra win condition beyond winning my own lane. And if I'm smart about my roams, which I I am because I do it all the fucking time, I make a huge difference in two places on the map. So despite the fact that I am traditionally located somewhere else, I have heavy influence on a friend's position that would actually matter. And I can put resources into somebody I don't trust in my ADC partner and somebody somewhere else on the map to create another win condition.
Yep.
All right.
I
Cool.
do agree with that. I did just want to add one small thing is don't be afraid to say no to someone that wants to do if you
No
don't.
means no, guys. No means
No,
no.
no means no. But you know, again, it does happen a lot where it's like, oh, but he's my friend from school. Oh, but he's like, you know, my been friends for like ever. If you do well together, like, and you want to climb, you know, if you don't care, then whatever. But also try to have someone at the same skill level as you, or at least at the same like division.
Mm-hmm.
If you are playing with someone that's lower, you're gonna get like lower teammates. You know, like that can affect your MMR. And if you're playing with, like, let's say I'm playing as a gold player with a plat, and be facing more plats. And if I'm not ready to be at that point, it's gonna be harder to win games just because people are gonna be
Yep.
just strategically better. So that's also something to keep in mind.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice from Manster 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42.
Looking at random numbers.
No, those were the numbers from Lost.
Those are the lost numbers. Is Manny too young for Lost? He might be.
Probably.
Wow. I'm turning 23 in 2
Oh,
weeks.
all right,
I'm
there you
not,
go.
I'm not too young to be lost.
So you're just there. You
Yeah,
you didn't understand
just-
season 1 and 2, but you started to understand
Yeah,
after
I was
season
like-
3. Anyway, the other thing I want to say, preference on lanes to deal with. I think it's actually I like the whole jungle aspect of it. I think jungles can go anywhere and you just camp that lane. But I think it's actually more important instead of like the roles and the lanes that you pick two champions with synergy. Like if you're playing Oriana, find someone that dives because you guys are in voice comms hopefully, and you guys coordinate and you hopefully, like Blake said, you have synergy and you understand what you're trying to do. So pick two champions that go like really well with each other. You know, Shaco Oriana would be like great too. Like so you could do those cheese like ball, the ball combo, or like you have if you're AD carrying Shen or something like that. Like make sure that you always in voice comms be like I need Shen ult, so you can always do that. Or if make sure you have a good synergy with your kits and the champions that you play, and that will like. I mean, Aiden talked about that with his Blitzcrank and Mordekaiser, where he's like, "I'm not a master player, but I got to master player abusing the Blitzcrank Mordekaiser combo." Like, do those kind of things, and it'll carry you further than you actually even deserve potentially.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's true.
All right. We have another question from Vernon L. We're just one of them. He asked, "When do I rush Zeal versus BF Sword?" I'm assuming as an AD carry in the bot lane.
Okay, so Manny.
This is pretty simple, right?
Yeah, you're an ADC player, right? That's your stick.
I'm an ADC main.
Okay,
No.
awesome. So I'll, in light of his main being ADC, I will pass the mic to Manny 1 1 2 3 5 8 13. That's a Fibonacci sequence. So
I got that one.
okay, just want to make sure.
So honestly, never. Instead of building, like, if you don't have enough gold to get a,
BF Sword.
you know, the sword. Yeah, I was like, what's it called? Yeah, the BF sword. Then buy a pickaxe. Like, you just need. Usually, most ADCs need that damage anyway to help with last hitting and help with, you know, being able to trade effectively.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think like the only times you want to build like Zeal itself, Callista. But
I mean, anyone
still,
that's
like,
attack speed champion, right? Even like
But I
Vayne,
mean, if
actually,
you,
no, Vayne, you don't build that. You build a Bork, right? First.
I mean, you can go with the crit build, so you could build Zeal, but like, would not benefit from getting Zeal first, just because you don't have the damage to help you get like okay, the crits can help you, but
No,
having
you're
like
not
twenty
depending on the
percent
crit.
chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so I would say like you almost never like Zeal first. You
Yeah.
might want to do BF into Zeal or BF into like a Zeal item. Like I think that's more okay, but you usually want to get like IE or Essence Reaver first. I don't know what your takes are on that, Blake.
Oh, that sounds
I
great.
zoned out.
I
He's
well,
like, I'm
okay,
just trying to
so
figure out these numbers.
actually what I was trying to do is figure out how to spell your name in binary so I could use this in the next joke. But it is way too long. There's like a million numbers in that. So that didn't work out. Okay,
All
so
right.
I don't know if I'm going to duplicate your answer or not, but
Then
if
we'll
I
just
do,
go
well, no, if I
on.
do, then he's right. So, and we agree. But there are just certain champions that you want to emphasize attack speed on, and certain champion and crit, and then there are certain champions that are more snowball dependent in terms of damage, right? So for example, Draven would be one that you want to add just raw damage to, whether you get a pickaxe or BF sword or whatever, just whatever gets you there in terms of damage is usually a very good thing. However, there are certain champions that are more attack speed reliant, like Callista and Twitch, and generally champions that have a damage buff that is independent of their actual damage stat, right? So if you think about it like
Right.
this, Twitch's ultimate adds a shit ton of AD, so it's better to be able to rapid fire those ultimate shots into two people than it is to hit like two or three really slow and really painful shots, right?
Mhm.
Um, with Draven, his scalings are good and his axes are super heavy whenever you hit, so and you have your own attack speed steroid and your own W, so it's really better to get double down on damage, right? Plus, you really want to get kills, so that makes sense. Um, like somebody like Lucian is all favoring damage because you're using your double shot passive to supplement all of your normal auto attacks, so you don't really need
Mhm.
attack speed as much. So anybody
Well, I
that
think like
builds
early.
yeah, anybody that would build into Bork or would build, well, Lucian builds into Bork, so maybe that's not the best example. But still, if you build into Bork for attack speed, like Callista does, or Twitch, or any of those champions where, your main point is either to stack something or you have your own additional boom button, like Twitch, then that makes more sense to build like Zeal early. If you have an auto attack dependent champion like Kate that gets big ass headshots, you know, that's a good item, but most Kates build BF sword and then they do the Zeal item and then finish the Zeal item.
Same with Tristana.
And yeah,
That's
that's the
usually
same
the
with
build path.
yeah, same with Tristana. And then obviously on champions that are lethality builders, you're not building either of these things.
Right. I would say like it's more of like it is situational, but if you have 1,300 gold and you back, buy the BF sword, don't buy Zeal in 2 pots, right? Like I think that ideally better. And if anything, at that point you can stack daggers if you need
I
them,
I
right?
would call that a very good rule of thumb.
Cool.
Good.
All right. So the next question is from Brian A. He asked, "How do you help your team end the game from mid game to late game as a jungler or just in general?" So let's focus this on a jungler mostly.
God damn, this is a really broad question that is like one of those that we could spend a day answering. So I'm going to narrow this down a bit in scope, right?
Hmm.
And keep in mind that I'm going to do that with the caveat that if you really want something that's a more specific answer, right? Come into Discord and I will give you that answer straight out of the horse's mouth or whatever. Like,
Or also, Brian, if you want us to cover this a little more, we'll do like a half an episode on it actually,
yeah, we can
because
do
we
that.
could talk about
Yeah.
this for a while too.
So, okay, first
'Cause
off,
There's a
your
lot from it.
your work as a jungler largely depends on how much gank pressure you have pre-6 as a champion. So, like, somebody like Elise does a lot of work, or should do a lot of work in the early game with ganking. Same for Lee Sin, same for Shaco, same for... I actually had a Shaco in Plat say that, oh, well, the early game doesn't matter as much for Shaco. It's all about the mid game and the late game. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
Spoiler
that
alert,
is...
he lost that game.
It's like, spoiler, you're incredibly fucking wrong. And why are you even playing this champion? You're like, holy shit. So, identify where your champion's actual strengths are. And by that, I don't mean theory craft some horse shit like this retard Shaco I played with. I mean, like, actually look at conventional wisdom and then figure out why that conventional wisdom is what it is. The reason Shaco's good is because he can disappear and appear behind somebody in lane and do a fuckload of damage right off the bat at level 3.
Mm-hmm.
Or level 2 even. But all that said, figure out where your pressure lies. Like Amumu, you don't have a lot going on till 6. You get more at 6,
Yeah.
but it's not like you're not great
mean-
pre-6.
I was gonna say, yeah, because pre-6, like, you have to rely on, like, it's if you miss that skill shot, you waste time and you waste pressure.
Yeah.
Like, throughout the entire game. It's why am I like in this part of the map right now to the team? Am I just reacting? Like, I think that's also
Yeah,
something you
I mean
wanna
that's
look
that's all very fair, but you may be asking yourself, why the fuck are we talking about the early game when the question is about the mid to late, right? Well, that's very dependent. Did you succeed at what you were supposed to do in the early game, and who got fed off your success or failure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, example, Lee Sin is supposed to dominate the early game. If you got 6 kills in the early game, you may want to build some damage. And then,
Yep.
Conventional wisdom is build a little bit more damage than normal and then start building some tankiness, because your character's going to fall off and you're going to go from being like I murder the fuck out of everybody to I have to create engagements as Lee Sin to be good in the late game, right? Or I have to play it like an assassin in the late game where I sneak in and flank on team fights using my mobility. But if I horrifically lost the early game, then my options get limited to the only thing I can do is play tanky.
Right.
Right? Like,
And-
so
and-
I need
and
to
become like
build
that.
Yeah, I need to build tank immediately and rely on
Yeah.
percent health damages and just make plays by kicking important people into other important people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it changes character to character and based on success, right? And build. So like I said, it's a
Team comp,
super
like it's
it's a
is
super
such a
variable
broad-
question. That it's
All right,
really
can I
hard to
give my
answer.
2 cents then for this one?
Sure.
So if you're a jungler, your strengths should be macro play. You have a lot of time where you're just hitting camps where you don't need a macro, you don't need to use your micro. You're paying attention to the map. You should understand the flow of a game and how important objectives are. So in the mid game, like laning phase is over, and again, like Blake says, a lot of this is dependent on the situation, if you're fed or not. But basically, if you're trying to lead your team to victory, you have to corral your team of bots that just want to get kills and want to farm and not care about objectives to actually go for the objectives. So that means you should be getting ready for dragons, pinging dragons a minute before they're up, making sure you always bring like a control ward there, understanding if
two.
understanding if you're behind and you don't want to fight for that ocean drake, you go somewhere else and make an opportunity happen in the top lane and get Rift Herald or something like that. And you need to be making sure you're pinging a ton and communicating in chat if you need to make sure your team are making the right macro decisions to actually hopefully extend your lead and hurry up and finish the game and get objectives. Like when they're trying to dive past that first turret, just like keep pinging the turret and keep pinging them back and focus on the turret. And don't be that guy that's Leeson that's diving 2 turrets behind them, because you should be leading your team in the macro play and like what is happening. Because you should know who's fed on your team, who's not fed on your team, who on the enemy team is fed, and you should understand how the game, what your win condition is. So as a jungler, I really think, and as a support, though, that is your responsibility to lead your team into victory. And hopefully your team listens. And hopefully, even if you're behind or forward, as long as you make good macro decisions, I think, and your team listens to them, that's how you win the game.
Yeah, I think it's super important to like. Also, like you can't forget to farm, because if you're just walking around like the entire mid game and like you can't get kills, but you're not farming, you're just gonna fall behind and make sure like you lose. You need to like have that balance. And something that Sam, you know, even like Blake had mentioned, is also like your team's win condition, right? If you have a Fizz and the whole point of Fizz is for him to get fed early, right? So he becomes unstoppable late. Happen like he goes even, and what you have to do at that point is just stall out the game, right? Don't always rush it, to slow it down, defend. Like you obviously you can't look at like SKT. They did that today. Like they slowed the game down to like a 40-minute game when just to finish at like 25.
Mm-hmm.
But jungle streams, look at what they're doing, kind of like gaining phase after, you know, you get a couple ganks off. I think it's just so broad because it's just so much more situational, right? Like to be at the right time. I think getting vision is something we didn't really mention. Is super important. Get deeper vision if you're ahead. You know, make sure that you have a good line of wards. But like, think that, you know, if your brand goes minute 5, oh, I'm not building a side stone, go for the green jungle item. That way you can have like a couple more wards, right? Like I think vision is super important as a jungler, and it's one of your main goals to get vision.
Yep. Cool. All right. Hopefully, Brian, that's helpful. And again, like there's a lot of situations. If you have a specific situation in mind, feel free to let us know in the Facebook group, Twitter, Discord, wherever, and we can even talk about that on the show if you'd like. Anything else, guys? We're good?
Yeah.
I was going to say, you know, we talked about like macro play, and I really want to emphasize your smite is super important for objectives. Like you've got to be on the right side of the map. So you really have to be keeping an eye on like what's contested, what's about to be important. So you know that you are where you're supposed to be for your team. Because I don't know how many times where like we fight a team fight and we have a free Baron and like my jungler is taking red buff on their side.
Yeah, you're not allowed to go bot lane if Baron is up.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like 35 minutes, 40 minutes, especially then you're not allowed to go bot lane.
Yeah, because your whole idea is if they see you bot, they will go for Baron. Because the smite is off the table. Also, if a dragon is spawn, let's say Fire Drake is spawning in 15 seconds, don't smite the wraiths, don't smite your Gromp. You know, like don't smite right
champions either if you're trying to go for the steal.
Yeah, like, because you're most likely not gonna take that, right? It becomes from a 50-50 to a guaranteed secure from the other team. So it's also definitely as micro as it gets of like you understanding how much your spells do, right? Like if you're a Kha'Zix, you can E into the Dragon Pit, does so much more damage. A regular like champion just having smite. Same with like Lee Sin Q.
Cool.
And smite.
Alrighty then. That's basically it for this episode. Just quick, we have one iTunes review that came in today, so that's awesome.
What?
Blake, would you like to read it?
Is it written in the
Oh,
thing?
okay,
Then
I'll
yes,
read it.
I've got it. It's right here.
You got it.
Wicked Chaos wrote. He has two S's in chaos, so I had to do it. If you want league information or just something to listen to while on a road trip or something, then this is the podcast to listen to. It's very informative, but also extremely entertaining and sexy. I may have added that last bit, but he did say everything else, and then he wrote, "Thanks, Lola. No Wicked Chaos. Thank you, dude. We appreciate that shit. I love getting reviews on iTunes. So thanks a bunch, man. We really appreciate your support of the show, and that is obviously a very appreciated thing because we've been trying to grow for fucking years now. So that is really helpful to rise up in the charts like that. And, we really appreciate it. So thanks, man.
Yeah, we know that writing these iTunes reviews dealing with iTunes can get a little annoying sometimes. So again, we really appreciate you spending the time to do that. So thanks again, Wicked Chaos. Besides that, the only announcement that I have is just remember, continue to send questions via our Facebook group. Discussions going on there like daily. Really fun to look at that. I try to post every now and then, every other day, stuff like to start conversation as well. So it's a good time. Join that Facebook group. That is in the episode description if you're looking for that. Blake looks like he wants to say something.
No, I was going to say you mispronounced his name. It's Wicked Chaos.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah. Other than that,
you gotta speak the end in parcel tongue, or nobody knows what the fuck you're doing.
Other than that, don't forget to join our Discord channel where we're playing games, community games, Wednesday nights, starting at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. As Brad always continue to remind me, we don't care about mountain. Just kidding. We love you, mountain folk.
Mountain folk?
Yes.
That's what you want to say?
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. Mountain folk.
We love you, mountain folk, with your banjos.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And your clear drinking liquors.
So, that is it for this episode of the LOLA podcast. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, good night, everybody.